So the first sort of 12 months was just me working, or first 2 years actually, was just me working with a room full of addicts, just basically sort of, and just the youth hostel was being used as emergency accommodation for prison leavers. About 2 or 3 years, we'd been working, because obviously some of my service users were in there, guys coming out of custody. And the owner was just sick of the same revolving door, and it was full on chaos. I mean, it was absolutely. You remember it yourself?
I do remember. I remember. Yeah, it was like, yeah.
It was full on bedlam. You know, we'd have the police there 4 or 5 times a day. We'd be throwing 4 or 5 lads a week out. We had all sorts. It was carnage, absolute carnage. But on a residential point of view, the recovery program went very quickly, because all we did really was we just pulled the strings of the aggro stuff together, solidified that, made that, condensed it down, and then just bolted a load of extra stuff onto the top of it. And again, I have to sort of say we were massively sort of blessed that just a lot of friends of ours, people like yourself, Sarah Flynn, just came along and said, what can we do to help? What can we do to support? What can we offer? So people just started to put on different groups, different activities, and kind of that first 12 months just kind of solidified the foundations. But what it also did was we had to recognise that we had real problems on the residential side, because we weren't working with those, we weren't housing those guys. They were being housed by the council through like sort of emergency duty of care. But we had a suicide, basically, a near fatal OD and a violent assault in the space of about 3 days. Which was probably like my worst working week ever. But at that point then we just said we've got to take control of the housing. So we looked into it, and like I said, weirdly enough, because we'd had to register as a charity, we can claim this really niche accommodation status, which basically means we sit outside the local housing allowance, we can charge our own rents. So we just spoke to the landlord, and basically we had 14 guys that were living with us at the time, and we said we're going abstinence-based abstinence-based. Apart from basically weed's permissible. Well, not weed's permissible, but we won't shut you out for weed. But Class A free in 28 days. We had 14 lads. 2 of them took us up on the offer. The other 12 all asked to get moved to other placements. And then we just needed to bring our own guys in. So I mean, two of the early ones, said, who's been with us 7 years now. Yatesy, he was our second resident. He's been with us, Christchurch, 6.5 years. Obviously has been working full time for us for 3 years now. But yeah, we'd always had it as an idea, and it was an idea that I carried ever since that Glasgow weekend, and that whole sort of chat, like I said, on the train back with Gilman.